I always say we're missing that big picture, the brain, immune, gut picture. It's like a secret that can fix all of those things. It can make you happy, it can make you satisfied, it can make you live longer, all from the gut, immune, and brain. It's like the answer's right in front of us. The research is here. We now know that this is the problem. Right off the bat, I'll say it's an easy solution. It's not easy, it's simple, not easy, to eat healthy and change your gut. But it can be done in 3 days, and that can change that whole trajectory.
When it comes to things like overeating, obesity, depression, and we're putting compartments for all the specific things, is it boiling down to one whole holistic thing?
You hit the nail on the head. I always say we're missing that big picture, the brain, immune, gut picture. It's like a secret that can fix all of those things. It can make you happy, it can make you satisfied, it can make you live longer, all from the gut, immune, and brain. It's like the answer's right in front of us. The research is here. We now know that this is the problem. And what I was saying to you right before we started is it takes 3 days. Landmark study in Nature showed that 3 days is all it takes to start making that change. So right off the bat, I'll say it's an easy solution. It's not easy, it's simple, not easy, to eat healthy and change your gut. But it can be done in 3 days, and that can change that whole trajectory.
I love that. We are going right into the big picture, brain, immune, gut.
Yes.
Big picture, I love that. And when we think about how our microbiome can change so fast, a lot of us will go, oh, I don't know, it's gonna be a lot for me, it's a whole journey.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me 3 days of changing something like your diet can really cause downstream effects for your health?
Absolutely. These gut bacteria, we have bacteria, viruses, and parasites, fungi that live there that help us. They turn over every few hours. And in 3 days, if you make a big change in your diet, we have demonstrated that it can change the whole milieu. And then, of course, it starts to compound. There was another study. They looked at 2 weeks, okay? 2 weeks of either ultra-processed food or real food. Same calories, same fat, same fiber, same sugar. So the same exact food, but one was packaged foods and one was fresh made food. And in 2 weeks, they saw a marked difference in the hunger hormones. So the ultra-processed group was less satisfied. They had less neuropeptide YY, which is like your appetite satisfaction hormone. More ghrelin, your hunger hormone. They ended up eating 500 calories more. And they ended up being 2 pounds heavier at the end of 2 weeks. Eating the same, they were allowed to eat the same foods for the meals, and then they could have extra stuff as ad libitum.
So then that begs the question, if we're matching all of these factors, these nutrients or macronutrients, what is happening? Why are the ultra-processed foods having that effect on us?
It's the gut. It's the gut microbiome. If you eat real food and you let that bacteria flourish, and this was a 2-week study, right, the ultra-processed food. So you think about it, 3 days, the gut bacteria starts to change with the ultra-processed group, and then 6 days, and then 9 days, and 12 days. All of a sudden, the bacteria is completely different. And they are not going to send the right signals, the fullness signals, the happiness signals. The gut bacteria themselves make dopamine, serotonin. They make peptides that look just like neuropeptide YY or ghrelin. So they're basically changed. So the researchers at the end of it said, wow, we never expected such a huge change because it was the same amount of fat and sugar, salt. Yeah. What we always blame, fat, sugar, salt. But there's a huge difference. And so what that makes me realize, all these diet wars, vegan, paleo, it doesn't matter if you're eating ultra-processed foods. They're all bad for that gut. And then when your gut microbiome is changed, the happiness signals, the fullness signals, the anti-inflammatory signals aren't going to be there.
Let's talk about something I do for my health literally every single day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy, but now, after about 6 to 8 months, I love it. Athletic Greens does not taste like it's super healthy. It has a mild, tropical taste. I actually look forward to having it every single morning, but what is it? With one scoop of Athletic Greens, you're getting 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens for stress to help you start your day right. It contains less than a gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything. And guess what? It tastes good. It doesn't taste like dirt or grass. It supports your better sleep quality, better recovery, and supports overall mental clarity and alertness. AG1 is a small micro habit and it's got big time benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. You know and heal thyself. We only support companies that are doing right by you, doing right by the world. Athletic Greens is one of them. They are a great company focused on sustainability, one of my favorite words out there. For one, they're a climate neutral certified company, and in 2020, they purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests. Additionally, for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping get nutritious food to children, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States. And in 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to kids. So, to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/heal-thyself to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Okay, ladies, I know it can often feel like health is overwhelming, right? There's so much information out there. And part of what we try to do on this channel is really give you access to research-based information that goes into more depth that you can't really find online. But still, there are millions of women out there suffering with confusing health issues that you just can't figure out online. Now, to reverse these health issues, it usually takes a level of precision you can only get from personalized tests or working with a one-on-one holistic or integrative doctor. As a doctor myself, I wish I could see everyone who listens on this podcast, we know that, to get individualized testing to help reverse health issues. Now, I can't do that. I got a really, really good option. The next best thing, Wisdom is one of my favorite new health companies. Now, they focus specifically on women's healthcare, most specifically complex health issues that conventional medicine often ignores, like hormone issues and autoimmunity. Wisdom doctors can help you get advanced functional medicine tests like hormone tests, vitamin and nutrition tests, inflammation tests, gut microbiome tests, and more. And they can see clients anywhere in the country. All the doctors at Wisdom are aligned with holistic, integrative perspective on health, right? And they practice just the way that I would. So if you're looking to get a better idea of what's happening with your health, seeing all the testing, really getting to the bottom, the root cause of so much, visit wisdommedicine.com. That's WISDOMMEDICINE.com today. And you're going to use the promo code Dr. G, and you're going to get $100 off of a testing package when you do. So the more love you give to those gut bacteria, the more you're going to get that love back. But they love that live, whole food.
Yes.
Not the processed stuff. They want the live, whole food.
They need it. They're starving to death. It's like we are starving them to death. And you know what's so sad, Dr. D? If you look at the gut bacteria from just a few generations ago, we are changing generation to generation. Like your children or your family's children, grandchildren are going to have even less than we have. And so we are 40% less diverse than our forefathers. Imagine what's going to happen.
Wow.
And then you imagine what's going to happen to depression, to obesity, to heart disease.
You know, I always think about, knock on wood, my dad has never gotten really sick. Seen him have a cold, but he's never gotten sick, knock on wood. He had Lyme and then he just got through Lyme so fast. And he grew up in Ecuador on a farm, eating, like literally rolling around in the dirt, riding horses around farm animals. And this man, his gut can handle anything. Well, I remember one time he just ate a bowl of, I think, raspberries, and he didn't realize they were like moldy.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Me, I would have been in my stomach, or like
Right.
just holding it.
Right.
So to think about our forefathers' gut bacteria.
Yeah.
What's the change? What successive generations? what is the major thing that is just starving and reducing the health of our bacteria?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've been researching that. When I was in medical school, the reason I decided to specialize in immunology was we had this session and it just blew my mind. They said, there's been some research that shows that children in London at the turn of the century um, that moved to London downtown and they got richer. They lived in these nice apartments and they had nicer clothes and cleaner environments. They weren't living on the farms of the outskirts of England anymore. These kids started to get sick. And there's a very smart scientist, Dr. Strachan. He said, what's happening to these rich kids? These seemingly,
Yeah.
kids that had more access to cleaning products. They were living a better life in downtown London, and it was just becoming industrialized. So over the next 25 years, he studied this. And in Europe, they have a great nationalized healthcare. So in Denmark and all of these places in Europe, they started to study this too, because they started to notice these kids were getting more autoimmune diseases, asthma, allergies. Something was changing. And they unequivocally all concluded that there was this hypothesis, a hygiene hypothesis, that said from 0 to 5, especially 0 to 3, your gut and immune system needs to see germs. It needs to see animals, it needs to see dirt, it needs to see other people, siblings, the whole farm life. It needs that.
Mm.
And so there was something about the new modern life that wasn't teaching our immune system enough. And it was going haywire. And now it's expanded. So from 1989 to today, now we realize it's not just the immune system, it's the gut bacteria. It's that we're not getting enough bacteria seeding our gut. So the first time you are born, you have 0 bacteria. You go through your mother's birth canal, the vaginal birth canal seeds your entire GI tract. When you start breastfeeding with your mother, it seeds your GI tract, because through the breast milk and through the skin of the mother. So what they realize is, oh my gosh, from birth, we're kind of messing with this bacteria. Then we're not giving them exposure to other siblings, animals, other family members. We're keeping them very sterile. And then we're noticing that they're going haywire later.
Mm.
So that's the whole theory. And now it expands into, hey, these gut bacteria, they are more plentiful than our own cells. There's more bacteria and their genes are 10 to 1 to our genes, right?
Mm.
So we need them. We can't live without them. And they affect our mental health and our physical health. And they make us hungry. They make us happy or sad. So we can't just think of it as like, oh, we need to be clean and sterile. It just makes you really wonder if we're really going in the right direction. I mean, obviously we're not going in the right direction, but it makes you wonder what it is about what we're doing in modern life that is wrong. And to me, the answer is we are killing the gut microbiome systematically,
Systematically, generation to generation.
generation to generation.
And to hear, that inspires me. And when I ever have a kid, it's time to be outside
Yeah.
early on. A lot of parents go, no, I have to take care of my kid. There's too many germs.
Yes.
We don't want him to get too dirty. You're saying from the ages of 0 to 5, you said?
Yeah.
Let the kid roll around in the dirt.
Yeah.
This is an essential time.
This is essential time. And, some people say to me, oh, well, I had no control over it. Like what am I supposed to do now? And I say, well, there's a lot you can do. You can still change your gut microbiome, even if you weren't breastfed, if you were a C-section baby, if your parents didn't know any better, whatever. You can still do so many things in your daily life to kind of change that trajectory. Spend more time in nature. Eat foods closer to nature. You don't need to eat all the ultra processed foods that everybody else is eating. It's really sad. So the grocery store over the last 70 years has completely changed. I don't know if you've noticed it even since we were kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have as many options for ultra processed foods. It is now 70% ultra processed in the grocery store. You can't even find, I mean, the real food sections are small.
Yeah, very small. I remember.
So even if you're eating ice cream, I'm just giving an example of something really fun treat. It used to be, milk, sugar, strawberries, whatever. Now it's emulsifiers, it's stabilizers, it's colors, it's fragrances, and it's a non-food substance. There's no milk or cream in it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So it's like we're changing, and I'm not blaming um, the food manufacturers for the entire problem. Obviously, we're buying that food. We're asking for that. But we're asking for that because it's creating a response in our brain with immediate gratification while it's killing that gut bacteria.
Mhm. So at the expense of basically the things that help us sustain our health, we're just having gratification really fast, and that's what we're used to.
Simple gratification. And you can't blame these young kids. These young kids, they're 75% processed diet now, from 60 adults to 75% in the adolescents,
Mm.
because they want the thing that gives them the dopamine
Yeah.
burst. Why would you want the orange, which you got to peel it, then you eat it, and it gives you like a slight dopamine
Mhm.
boost, but it's not like, you drink a soda and
Mm.
it's like
And you
burst,
just, yeah, it just
instant.
burst. So is there, when the people viewing, listening who have kids or want to have kids, we got that really nice hack of having the kid just being exposed to nature, moving around. But what about their palate? For the kids who are really susceptible to having those dopamine hits, do we train their palate early? Do we start giving them the
Yes.
vegetables early and getting them used to the whole foods?
Yes. So there was a study that came out. This was on adults, but it goes with kids too, is that 30 different plant foods a week is what it takes to have the most diverse, healthy microbiome with anti-inflammatory compounds just being made by the minute.
Wow,
So, and 30
30.
different plant foods includes nuts, seeds, spices,
Okay, okay. I'm over
garlic,
here thinking
onions.
vegetables and fruits only.
Yeah, no, it's everything. So if you think about it, if you made a nice stir fry with garlic and ginger and
Mhm.
pepper, and all of those things would count. So you get 10 to 15 just in a nice stir fry, right? So you would want to have 30 a week in your family. And that inspired me because I thought, oh, I could do that. Like
Mhm.
maybe a couple of different meals you make for your family that has a bunch of different vegetables, some different spices. You sprinkle some nuts or seeds on it. There you go.
Come to think of it, it's easier than you think.
Yeah,
If you have all of those options, you
yeah,
have, let's say, 2 meals a day even,
yeah,
you add maybe 3 of those per meal,
yeah.
you're already on really good track.
I love garlic and ginger and pepper. All of those things are considered separate plant foods. So you can just add them in. Then you can do nuts and seeds are all different. So I try to like pick some different nuts that I haven't had before, just to change it up. Because one of the things that they realized is that the 30 different foods, what they were doing is that they are diversifying the gut. And the diverse gut is the strong gut.
Mhm. So what about the people who are listening and go, okay, I know if I eat these nuts, my stomach is the worst. But then I
Yes.
eat these spices and my stomach curls up and
Yes.
they're so sensitive and narrow to certain foods. How do we expand that? And what's going on? Why can't we eat all these foods?
Yeah. So think about it this way. Visualize this with me, okay? If you're traveling down into your gut, if you could see with a microscope, you would see a thick layer on both sides of bacteria, like super thick, like 5 rows deep. Our own cells is just one row, it's just one layer of cells. That's our intestinal cells. So, what we have is on both sides, we have this thick, thick layer of bacteria that's there, that's protecting that one layer, right? So then like we said, we ravage it with antibiotics. So say we have an upbringing that didn't foster our diet, doesn't foster the bacteria. That lining becomes super thin and maybe almost non-existent in some areas. So now you have just your gut cells trying to fight, right? So it can't. It's like, the opposing army is at your door,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So some stuff leaks in. And our body has to make antibodies to it and makes a little inflammatory response, and that's food sensitivities.
Mm.
So all of a sudden, the food that you loved, now you can't eat it. And you're like, what the heck? I never had this before. Now I can't do this spice. I can't do this food. This hurts my stomach. Why? Because that lining is compromised. And you're getting gluten sensitivity and you're getting, nut sensitivity, and all these sensitivities are coming from that gut lining. Now, so then you think, well, could you fix that? Yeah. If you start to change your diet, start to thicken that layer, you could repair that, at least in some way, so that you can start to tolerate those things in small amounts, maybe in the beginning. I don't know about you, but when I healed my gut, I was able to eat some of the things I never could eat
Yeah.
before. I can have fermented dairy and it's like great, doesn't cause me any issues.
Mm.
When I was in my worst state and I was anxious and I was bloated and I was having all these hormone issues, I couldn't have dairy, not even a little bit.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, I developed a wheat and gluten and dairy sensitivity. But really, it was my gut that was suffering.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Mine's is onions. If
Yeah.
I can't eat onions, I know my gut is a mess.
Yes.
But as soon as I start feeling robust,
Yes.
I didn't even think about it. And I'm like, oh, there was onions in there, and I'm
Yes.
fine. I'm not bloated. I don't have heartburn, and I
Yes.
just don't feel not good.
Right.
So it's all about optimizing that thick layer,
Yeah.
that reinforcing, fortifying that army wall.
Yeah.
And what are some of the things we know about the fermented foods? We know
Yes.
about the prebiotic
Yeah.
foods. What are some other things? You mentioned
Yeah.
antibiotics. What things to avoid, things to incorporate? How do we start doing it ourselves?
Okay, so one of the easiest things you can do because we already talked about ultra processed foods, is identify in your mind exactly what an ultra processed food is so you can start making better choices. So I think we should have a label. I think it should be clear that this is ultra processed so you can make a better decision, because it's really complicated for most people to figure out, oh, is this ultra processed? Is not. But I'll give you a quick and dirty tip, okay? If you take something and you look at the ingredients on the back and you could not recreate this in your kitchen or any culinary setting. So your kitchen might not have all the ingredients, but if you cannot create it with any ingredients in any kitchen, like it's not a culinary ingredient, it's ultra processed. So, take, for example, any of your favorite processed snacks. I'm just thinking like Chips Ahoy cookies, right? It's not just wheat and chocolate chips, sugar. No, it's all these words that are not foods. They're stabilizers, they're emulsifiers, they're they extend shelf life. They are hardeners, they're whatever purpose they serve for the industry. That makes it ultra processed. And we don't even know exactly what it is, but when you classify foods just like that, just put them on this one, just put them in two categories, because people said this NOVA classification, this is called the NOVA classification. It's too simple. You're not taking into account which additives, blah, blah, blah. But they said, it's fine. Just put them into two different categories and let's just see what happens. And the ultra processed food group had 80% more mental health days, the people who ate that. They had less of their longevity was reduced. Heart attacks and diabetes went up, right? So even if you take this crude, simple definition in your head, so next time, for example, I mentioned I have a daughter who's 13. She asked me for ice cream on the way home. And I said, okay, you know what? Let's go get ice cream. And I went to the grocery store and I just checked the label. And I said, which one has just milk, cream, and sugar? And that's it. Real ingredients. You could recreate it if you had an ice cream machine, you could make it in your house. But I wanted it to be convenient and fun, right? Then hey, maybe I'm not going to choose the thing that has all the artificial stuff in there. I'll just choose the real one, right? So we can make better choices. We can still have fun. It can still be like a treat after school, right? Same thing, making a quick meal. I thought, well, I don't have time today to make a quick meal. I have my clinic, I have patients, I have book writing, but whatever. But I thought to myself, even if I just opened a thing of pasta and added spinach, some spices, and marinara, like that would be healthier by leaps and bounds. And so it's simple changes. So that's number one thing that you can do. That's not the typical like fermented prebiotic, probiotic food thing. And then the second thing I think is another fun thing is polyphenols. So polyphenols are food for the gut bacteria. Polyphenols are beautiful foods like blueberries and strawberries, but they're also like tea and chocolate, all the things that I think we all enjoy. That's good for your gut.
I love the polyphenols thing because we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Now, you said 4 of my foods that I'm eating every day.
Yes.
A little bit of chocolate, definitely tea, and a ton of blueberries.
Yes.
And I know that they're helpful. I feel it in my body. There's
Right.
there's a reduction of inflammation. It just feels like no more burning is in my stomach.
You know, the blueberries actually, they saw even after one meal of blueberries, you have a change in your cognitive function. I mean, it's that fast.
For sure. I almost every day I have a ton of blueberries
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah, I
For my
love
day.
blueberries.
Yeah.
And then like things like blueberries and cherries and especially cherries actually, they have this dopamine boosting effect. So when you eat these foods, you get like a surge of motivation and energy because dopamine is very closely related to norepinephrine. And so that adrenaline feeling that you're trying to get from your energy drink, you get it naturally from dopamine boosting foods.
Element is a tasty electrolyte drink, and it's got everything you need. And that means a lot of salt with no sugar. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, no sugar, no artificial colors, artificial ingredients, gluten, or fillers. Element is formulated to help anyone get their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited for your lifestyle, whatever it is. Now, it's super important to replenish your electrolytes, especially when you're working out, when you're sweating, or just keeping up with day-to-day active lifestyles. Now, Element can help prevent headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness, and other common symptoms of electrolyte deficiency. And I started using Element, particularly when I was coming out of the sauna to help replenish my electrolytes, but now I use it every single day. It's amazing stuff. Right now, Element is offering you, the Heal Thyself listener, a free sample pack with any purchase. You're gonna get 8 single-serving packets free with any Element order. Now, this is a great way to try all 8 flavors and figure out which one you want. Get yours at drinkelement.com. The deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/DRG. Element offers no questions asked refunds, totally risk-free. And if you don't like it, they're gonna give you your money back, no questions asked. You got nothing to lose. Which brings us to the mental part, the mental health. Now, a lot of people, even more so, we were talking off airing, children, more depression, more anxiety, right? More of these mental health issues. And aside from all the emotional things that they may be dealing with, how is the gut playing an important role? What's the mechanism? What's happening in the gut to the brain? Where are the nerves? What's going on?
Okay, so you brought up an amazing burgeoning field that is going to blow your mind, okay? It's called psychobiotics. There are bacteria in your gut that can change your entire mental state. And they've seen it in schizophrenia, in Alzheimer's, and depression. So what they did is, and this is a study that really blew my mind. They took schizophrenic patients and they took the stool from them, their gut bacteria from them, and they put it into mice. And the researchers were able to pick out which mice had gotten schizophrenic bacteria, like from the patient, versus the patients that didn't have schizophrenia. And they mixed them all up. But the researchers were able to tell by 100% accuracy which mice had received the microbiome from the schizophrenic patients. Why? Because the mice were acting with schizophrenic traits.
Wow.
Nothing changed in the brain. They just transplanted the bacteria. Then they were like, whoa, is this true with depression? Yep, you can cure depression. Oh, wait, is this true with autism? Is it true with Alzheimer's? Is it true with anxiety? One after the other, they're like, wait a second, this is all coming from the gut.
Mm.
And so it's like flipping mental health like upside down because you're like, wait a second, if we can cure these people, if there's a potential right now, it's like mostly animal studies. Only some are like that schizophrenia where they took humans to animals,
Yeah.
but they've done a few human studies, but they can't figure out the right concoction
Yeah.
without doing a fecal transplant. You know, if you
Yeah.
do a fecal transplant, slam dunk,
Yeah.
right? But what if we just wanted to create like a concoction of bacteria? Because the bacteria have to interact with your own gut and then send the signals to the brain. So we're trying to figure out like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
How are they communicating so strongly that it can actually just change the whole thing? We know bacteria make dopamine, and that dopamine is stronger than our own. We know the bacteria make serotonin. We know the bacteria make they make this thing called LPS, which is a lipopolysaccharide, which actually blocks some of the good chemicals. So we know they have the potential to go both ways, happy, sad, right? So, but what is it about them? What's the right group of bacteria that you should be taking? But before we get to that answer, what I'm telling you with my book is that we already know that the diet rapidly changes the microbiome in 3 days.
Yeah.
So why aren't we just doing that?
Mhm.
Why do we need to find the secret concoction of pills
Right.
to take
Right.
to change this, right? We already know. Why wouldn't then we take our depressed, say, patients, and we say, all right, you're going to change your diet rapidly and completely. And we're going to put you in a control setting, just like you would with any other intervention. And we're going to give you all the unprocessed foods that fit into these categories that are going to refeed your gut. And we'll see in 2 weeks how you feel. I mean, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be in 3 days.
Yeah.
In 3 days, it's starting to turn over. It's starting to get better.
So we already know, I mean, what I would do if I was in charge of the study, they've already done studies where they add it to the SSRI. So you're already taking an antidepressant and you add, they did studies with adding probiotics, not foods, just probiotic supplements. And they found that it even helps the antidepressant work better, okay? But what if you rapidly change their diet and maybe the lifestyle too, right? What if we could have an intervention that was simple and reproducible, and we do it for all the people who have some mental health issues or not?
Mhm.
And we see how good you can feel. Like,
Yeah.
I think we learned the hard way. I know a little bit about you and me. I learned the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. I was super anxious. I thought I just called it stress because it was embarrassing in my culture. Like in South Asian culture, you don't say mental health buzzwords like depression, anxiety. You
Mhm.
say, I'm stressed, I'm
Yeah.
busy, I'm this, I'm down, I'm in a funk or whatever. You
Yeah.
use all these words because it's not accepted. What I realized is I was really low. I mean, I was in a place where I was thinking, what should I do? I don't know what to do. Like, so I think that anyone that has gone through that had to learn themselves that there may be an alternative way. Let's see sleep and sunlight. And I wish I knew then
Yeah.
that these dietary changes were so systematic that you could do to just change it fast. Because I did all the wrong things. I tried all the different solutions online because I didn't know where to turn. I mean, the doctors, my own colleagues, were like, "You're fine. You're busy. You're a mom. You're a doctor. You're getting
Mhm.
older. It's all that." And I was like, "But I don't want to feel like this every day."
Right. Right.
And so I had to learn the hard way. And I think most people who come to this space learn it the hard way. But then now I'm saying, hey, but we have these kids now that are growing up in this very toxic environment, and we have to teach them. We have to save them from this fate that they're kind of going towards.
Yeah. Inevitably, and this is how it's unfolding.
Right?
And just to think, one thing that really stuck with me is the reduction in just the diversity and strength of the microbiome as the successive generations keep going. It's like, what are
Oh,
my grandkids' stomach going to look
transgenerational.
like?
Yeah.
That's a big, it's like we talk about generational trauma. That's in itself a direct trauma to the
It
gut,
is.
to the health, to the physical body over and over. So these are the take homes. Ultra processed, get off of it.
Yeah.
Look at the back of the label. If you can't make it in your kitchen, don't do it.
Right.
we know the prebiotic, the fermented foods, we know
Yes.
those, but really the polyphenols is a big
Yes.
one. And then I'm missing one more. What did you say before the polyphenols?
Well, omega-3 fatty
Okay,
foods.
those
So
omega-3.
omega-3s are special, not just because of their anti-inflammatory potential, but because they have the potential to nourish the gut bacteria, and also to help our hunger hormones. So we choose the right foods. So hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin and neuropeptide Y and CCK, especially CCK, cholecystokinin, is our satiety hormone that's very sensitive to omega 3s. And so we can feed our bacteria, grow it, and also help our hunger and our cognition, as we know, through omega 3s. And then the other thing I would say is amino acid rich foods. So, do you know this theory of the protein theory? It's basically, I forgot, it's called, basically, what it is that you will eat until you get a certain amount of protein, amino acids in your stomach and your intestines, and that's a signal to your brain to release more leptin. And what people have been hypothesizing is that in natural foods, even plant foods, animal foods, dairy foods, it's amino acid rich. And these amino acids tell the brain when to stop eating. In ultra processed fiberless snacks, there's no protein. And so what they're thinking is that the appetite centers don't know that you've eaten that much. They just keep thinking you need to eat more to get up to that protein
Wow.
threshold. And so amino acid rich foods, like I didn't believe in that. I ate a very low protein diet all growing up because I grew up vegetarian, and in my home, we would eat beans and lentils, but it would be a small amount. And as I was a kid, I didn't even want that stuff, right? And my parents moved to America and we adopted a very Americanized diet because they were busy and they were working 2 jobs and there wasn't a lot of money, right? So instead of cooking these homemade meals, we were having a lot of processed foods. And when I learned about the amino acids and this protein threshold theory, I guess it's called, I realized, oh, I need to switch how I eat and eat more real foods with amino acids so that you feel fuller and it helps your gut bacteria. Because a lot of our neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, they have amino acids as their precursors. And so I realized, oh, no wonder you get a dopamine boost when you're eating a high protein breakfast, right? Like, so as you change that, you'll notice a change in your mood and your motivation. And I've definitely noticed that. And as for me personally, and I'll tell all the women out there listening, that as you get older, you're losing 3% of your muscle mass every year. And so if you're not counteracting that with weight training and increasing your protein intake, you're deteriorating by the year.
Wow.
So I think most women think, oh, protein is for bodybuilders. No, protein is for everyone. And I'm not talking about protein shakes and bars. We're talking about real amino acids.
Not the GNC stuff. We're talking about getting whole foods, but getting it into your diet throughout the day. And I thought about that. You know, one of my colleagues talked about that, and she's like, you know, you're 30 and up now.
Yeah.
Now you really need to be even working out, weight training even more before you, and now I'm heading towards 40.
Yes.
Really getting that muscle. So man, ever since she told me that, I was going to the gym. I do push-ups every day.
Yeah.
And I feel more fit, but I had to bring up the protein too.
Yes.
And I realized the mood was better.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
Those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm going to work out less because I'm so busy, and then eat less protein, eat less in general. And then I find the mental health is just, there's more anxiety, more fog.
100%.
The amino acids are everything.
It's everything. And, you know, people get caught up because, like we said, there's a difference between fitness and health.
Yeah.
And the fitness tells you eat as much protein as you can in any form, you know.
Nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop. And I'm saying to you, what I discovered is when you learn about ultra processed foods, you know what your bar is, the protein bar that you love? It's literally a Snickers. And then imagine having a Snickers and then a glass with protein in it. and you take both at the same. You would never eat a Snickers and a glass with protein in it,
No.
but you're eating a Snickers bar with protein embedded in it, and it's called a protein bar, right? So I had to really shift my thinking, because when I first started eating protein, I was like, this is great. It tastes delicious, right? Like all of these,
It's candy.
yeah, these smoothies and shakes and the whole thing. And then I realized that's ultra processed too. Like the bodybuilding weight training world really needs to wake up to say, like, hey, fitness and health can overlap if you do it the right way. But right now, the bodybuilders are pretty much as inflamed in some ways as the non-exercisers.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about, right? Because on the surface, you go, whoa, look at how fit this person is. What's going on the inside?
They're dying of a heart attack.
They're dying of a heart attack, exactly. But it just blows my mind, the food industry, how the scientists can hack
Yes.
the human body, the physiology, to try to outsmart to get us to eat more and eat more and eat more. And the protein threshold is so interesting to me, because it's like, oh, it makes sense. Of course, the body's own intelligence
Yeah.
it's not going to have us eat ourselves to death.
Yeah.
It goes, hey, I need everything that I need to for the brain, for the gut, for the muscles. Now you don't need to eat anymore.
Yeah, that the study that I told you about, the ultra processed food, where they had people on the same diet, fat, sugar, salt, calories, but one was ultra processed and one was real foods. The researchers at the end of it said their theory was that the microbiome changed in the ultra processed group, and the brain didn't sense the protein threshold. And those two things, they think, were the reason why these people gained the weight and they ate more.
If we think about how important the microbiome is just to our overall health, it's pretty astounding when we were connecting so much of the nervous system, the brain, to our gut.
Yeah.
Is there a connection between also our hormones at all?
Yeah.
In the gut bacteria?
Okay, this is going to blow your mind too, because it totally blew my mind. So they took the microbiome of a male and they put it into a female. And then the female's testosterone rose to the level of a male. And they're like, wait a second, we didn't remove the testes, we didn't change any hormone, just the bacteria. The bacteria in your gut are constantly creating and balancing the hormones.
That's incredible to think about.
I mean, people are obsessed with testosterone, right?
Right. We get shots for it.
Yeah, like everyone is on testosterone for one reason, it seems like. And if you knew that, hey, your gut bacteria could make that for you, then you wonder, oh, well, maybe that's why we have a hormone crisis, you know?
And how many things on the outside with chemicals in our food or even exposures in the environment are affecting our gut bacteria too, that is causing disruptions, right? And how many of them are xenoestrogens affecting our hormones, but then also disrupting our gut bacteria. It's like a two-hit, every single time, over and over.
Exactly. Our body is very, very strong, but when you keep hitting it, I always tell someone, like, inflammation is like that scrape on your leg that keeps opening, and you heal it and then it kind of opens, and then you hurt it so many times in the same place, it doesn't heal anymore, or the healing process is stunted.
Yeah. It's just thinking about how beautiful the body is and how resilient it is. We can bring it back.
I know.
So let's say I go, hey doc, I feel depressed, I'm bloated, I've been eating ultra processed foods. I just heard you on this amazing podcast, Heal Thyself with Dr. G. What are we going to do in 3 days? What is the 3-day plan immediately starting today?
Yeah, so if I were going to give you a 3-day plan, I would tell you to add 6 foods to your diet every day, and 6 categories. So you can pick between, because people tell me, like, I hate bok choy, whatever.
Right.
I get it. So the 6 categories are glucosinolates. Glucosinolates are things that have sulfur in them, like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. Okay, so glucosinolates. Polyphenols, which we already cover, green tea, berries, omega-3 fatty foods. So it could be salmon, but it could be flaxseed, or you could do vegan algae oil too. Then you have amino acid rich foods. We said, high protein foods are going to give you that boost. Then we say dopamine foods. So things that are going to boost your dopamine, like cherries, berries, nuts, seeds, eggs. Okay. And then the last thing is fiber, any form of fiber. Fermentable fiber is the best fiber in general. These 6 foods every day.
Wow.
And watch your microbiome change.
3 days.
3
I'm
days.
already getting it
You
going.
get it.
I don't even know how I'm going to feel by day 10.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Wow.
I'm saying. So if you're talking to me about advanced, if you're like, okay, I did this, now I want the advanced version. So the advanced version is 4 to 6 ferments a day and servings and 30 different plant foods a week. So that's advanced. So the reason I tell you this is that you may start with just adding one of the 6 foods every day. Then you may go to all 6 foods every day. Then you may say, all right, I'm ready for like the ultra marathon, not just a half marathon, right? So that's the fermented foods, because they saw in a study, they said, okay, fiber is really good for the microbiome. So what is it about the fiber? So they did a group where it's just fiber, and then it was fermentable fiber, meaning like things that are probiotic fiber. So kimchi, miso, fermented cabbage, all that stuff. They found that the group that was eating 4 to 6, the highest level of fermented foods, they had the strongest, most anti-inflammatory microbiome that existed, like something that would be similar to, the roaming caveman back in the day. So you can get there. I don't think it's easy to start with 4 to 6 in the beginning. But remember, apple cider vinegar is a fermented food. Probiotic cottage cheese and yogurt is a fermented food. So really, to me, I was like, when I was actually thinking about it, I thought, okay, I could have, like you could have some apple cider vinegar in your salad or in a glass of water, right?
Yeah.
Then you have either a yogurt or a cottage cheese that's probiotic. So for those of you who don't know, you have to look at the back label. In America, of course, you can buy yogurt and cottage cheese that does not have live bacteria. And then maybe you have miso or some kind of sauerkraut or cabbage. There you go. That's already 4.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what really helps me is I have the kimchi in the jar, and before meals, I'll put a spoon in there and just eat it. That's like my getting ready for the meal. That's how I could convince myself. And it's helpful because minimum, I'm getting 3 servings already of fermentable. And then in the meals, like apple cider vinegar, I can put in there. Maybe something has tempeh in there, right? Or miso in there.
Have you ever had, what is that, natto?
Yeah, natto's an interesting food. That one I was like,
Definitely an acquired
interesting.
taste.
That's an acquired taste.
But we're talking about kids and social media. So my kids found this viral video on TikTok. I'm sure all of you have already seen it, but I hadn't. Apparently, there's a way to whip natto with rice.
Whoa.
That makes it taste delicious. And my kids, of course, watched the video and said, oh, we found this video. So I said, great, let's do it. So every time they do ballroom dance, and every time they do their ballroom dance lesson, we go to the Japanese restaurant, we get the natto bowls with the rice, and they whip it up like TikTok taught them, and they eat it. And it's changes the texture, like it's not as sticky, and it kind of mixes with the rice and it tastes really good.
Interesting. So just whip it up with the rice.
And we do it every 2 or 3 times a week whenever we go. It's kind of a fun way for them to get some ferments into them, because let's be honest, it's not so fun for a kid to eat kimchi. Sometimes they'll eat it, it's fine.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah,
but
but
it's just
really
hard to get those fermentable. I mean, they're kind of sour. They're bitter. They have like a vinegary taste all the time.
They're the opposite of a Starbucks Frappuccino.
Exactly, which we're so ultra processedly used to wanting. We go, yeah, this is our dopamine, right?
Yeah.
We go crazy for it. Now, what if someone is having trouble losing weight? What if they go, listen, my calories have gone down.
Yeah.
I've been working out.
Yes.
But I ain't pooping and I have bloating and I have heartburn. What's going on there?
So it depends on if you started obese or not. Okay, so we know that obesity alters your hunger hormones. And that's why it's so hard, because people will say, oh, you're just lazy. You just need to go exercise. No, it's their hunger hormones have been altered. They are leptin resistant, meaning their cells, fat cells, pump out so much leptin into their bloodstream that their body has become resistant to it. So they're not as full, even with the same amount of food, right? So you have to take a different approach if you started with an obesity already versus if you're not obese and you're just trying to lose weight. If you're just trying to lose weight because you've been sedentary because of the pandemic, you didn't realize, that you needed to walk or eat healthy, then you use those hunger and satiety hormones to your advantage. That GLP-1, the one that everyone's taking an injection for, the Ozempic, that's a hormone in your gut that you could control by eating the right foods. You can increase your leptin, you can increase your CCK, your neuropeptide YY with certain foods. That's why fermented foods are so great, because they help your hunger hormones calm down. Sunlight helps your satiation hormones go up. So what I would do if I were someone who was, trying to just kind of revamp their health, I would start with just concentrating on reseeding that gut, getting more sunlight, getting more movement, and eating foods that nourish the gut. And guess what? Weight loss is going to be a side effect. Once your body starts working in the way, giving you the signal that you're full, giving you the signal that you don't need to eat that thing, you start to lose weight.
I love that. I love to think that the microbiome has that much implication on our weight.
Yes.
And everyone's taking that shot right now, and everyone's wanting to lose weight. But you're telling me that, oh yeah, by the way, our microbiome produces that.
Yeah.
All we got to do is feed it,
Right.
so it can give us back all of those healthy signals for us to lose weight.
So, and then the other thing I teach in the book is that cravings often were set when you were a kid, or when, at the time your body just wanted to survive and it was trying to figure out a way to get quick hit of dopamine, right? So when you were a kid and you went to a baseball game with your dad, in Queens or whatever, or your parents, and you ate all that junk food there, that gave you a sense of family and community. And a lot of times that's what stays. It could be a fun event, it could be a traumatic event, right? So a stressful event or fun. And it's a memory.
Yeah.
And now every time you have a fun family event, you start to crave those same foods. And there might be particular ones and you can taste it and smell it in your head. The memories come back, right? That's how strong our neurological system is. They want to keep you safe. They want to know how to make your body feel good. So these memories, but you can retrain them. Our brain is plastic. And yes, it's not going to be easy to retrain it in an artificial way, but there's ways. So I'll give you an example. When you gamble and you get a win after many losses, that's the biggest dopamine burst, and it creates the pathway. And that's why gambling is so addictive, because you get this amazing feeling of euphoria. And then quickly, how dopamine pathways work is quickly after the euphoria starts to wear down, you immediately get some discomfort. It's almost like pleasure mixed with pain, because now you want to do it more just to kind of calm that pain down. So when you find a very big dopamine trigger in your life, be it chocolate chip cookies or something, it's not 100% pleasurable experience. It's pleasure mixed with pain. If you've ever noticed that, it's like you love it so much that you're almost like, oh my God, when am I going to get it again? Like, am I eating too much? Like, just like a discomfort, right? That's your dopamine system. It's keeping you addicted to that. And it's supposed to be good. Okay, I'll give you an example. When you forage for food for your family thousands of years ago, and you got food and you were happy and you ate it all, your body wants you, your brain wants you to remember, hey, but tomorrow you got to do that again. You have to, go motivate you to get out there, build, create, forage, hunt, do all those things. It's a way to keep you motivated. But that can go haywire.
Yeah, especially in today's world.
Yes, and especially because we don't know this info, but they all do.
Yeah.
You think the casinos don't know this information?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they have the best scientists behind it, psychological scientists.
They're
with
making
everything.
they're creating the win at that moment when your dopamine is most anticipating it. Like, it has to be random. So the way the strongest dopamine release is when it's intermittent, but randomly intermittent.
Wow. Yeah.
So video games, right?
Right.
gambling, all of these intermittent rewards, like you don't get it every time, but when you get it, it's like,
It's a big one. You're just like, wow.
yes,
Has there any science been published on the microbiome and libido and
yeah,
sex and sexuality
yes.
and attraction and connection? Anything there unfolding?
So interesting. So um, the dopamine pathway works on relationships too, right? So have you ever, I'm not going to say you, I don't want to be too personal, but like if you have a toxic girl or guy in your life and you keep going back,
That happens often for many people.
right? And that is your dopamine pathway. It's intermittent. It's a reward that you get. And it's like when you get that reward, when you get that love or that affection from that person, it's like an explosion in your brain. And then you want it. And then you don't get it. And then you keep wanting it again because you're thinking, well, intermittently, randomly, maybe they'll turn around, maybe things will
Right.
change. And a lot of those people, they know, right? Intuitively, they know if they just give you a little, they know that they can keep you in that chase. And I know, if you know human relationships, friendships, and relationships, you know that there's like a chase, and the chaser is looking for some kind of feedback from the person. And,
Right.
when you talk about dating, a lot of these guys or girls know that someone's chasing them. They're not necessarily that interested, but they're going to maybe once or twice they'll go out with them, right?
Right.
Give them a little bit of dopamine boost. So it keeps them interested, keeps them coming back. It's the same thing as gambling, same thing as video games, same thing. And that's how toxic relationships form. It's like you get this dopamine burst and you want more of it.
Mm.
And some people get so addicted to the toxicity that they create it. They are drama dopamine people, right?
Right.
That argument, it's a dopamine release. It's adrenaline. It's like really exciting. And then you crave it again.
And then there's that crash and the crying, and then you guys make up, and then you guys get into a fight a month later. It's just cycle and cycle.
That is the dopamine. So a lot of people have a lower baseline dopamine and they are more likely to try to get it from all of these toxic places. When you heal your microbiome, you can raise your baseline levels of dopamine, right?
Mm.
So you're not fiending for external sources from everywhere. And, a lot of it is, as you know, toxic cycles that were formed maybe years ago that you don't even understand, um, but you can't break it.
Mhm.
And I always find that these drama-filled relationships, it's like it happens over and over and over again with different people for the
Mhm.
same person
Yeah.
because that person is not addicted to, it's not like that person's always encountering bad people. It's that they want that dopamine
Mhm.
burst. And you can retrain. I talk about how to kind of retrain your brain to not want those toxic dopamine bursts. And I think it's really interesting when you take it to the relationship realm because it teaches you that, hey, you can retrain your brain to have positive, like dopamine can be released with sex, with relationships, with good conversation, with sun, with love, so
Yeah.
there are good ways to release that dopamine that don't necessarily need to involve the toxic parts of it.
Mm. When it comes to dopamine and those hits that we keep taking, is our cell phone really lowering that baseline?
Yeah. Think
That's a
about how
thing.
many times an hour we check social media,
Ugh.
the notifications, right? I mean, you and I are on social media. When you have a post that went viral like that, euphoria, that's
Yeah,
dopamine.
we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's why everyone's hearing it now.
So I went to see a comedy show with Hassan Minaj,
Yeah, yeah.
and he doesn't know, maybe he does know about dopamine, but he probably doesn't. And he was talking about social media and how he started to get addicted to when his posts would go viral. And he said he started to want that more and more, and he was willing to risk more and more to get that. And I thought to myself, oh, he's talking about the dopamine pathway. He was getting a big hit, intermittent, unexpected
Right.
first couple of times. And then you're starting to fiend, you want it more and more. And so he was talking about how he was doing things to create more buzz, more virality. And I thought to myself, oh, yeah, he's talking about that dopamine cycle. He got addicted and then he couldn't stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yes,
it's
it was.
so hard for us. It's hard for me. I'm sure it's hard for you to not fixate on, you know, virality or likes or attention, because sometimes it's a good thing because it teaches you, like, right? It teaches you what the audience likes and wants,
Yeah.
but it can go the other way. And
Yeah.
social media is really hard because we said, you know what, TikTok rewards? Very, sexualized behavior, very rude behavior, something completely off the wall. That's what it rewards. And so it's giving rewards to creators that create content that is super toxic.
Yeah, isn't that wild? And we hear about, on a side note, TikTok in China, it's so deeply regulated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of education on TikTok in China,
Yes.
and kids can't use it past a certain time. And they teach about history of China,
Yeah.
important things that for them, educational. But for the rest of the world, they released it to the rest of the world, and they're like, oh, we're going to toxify the rest of the world. It's wild.
Because it's like, the algorithms work on, how many views something's getting. What gets the most views? Let's be honest. It's the stuff that gives you the dopamine burst. And it's so shocking, so weird, so and so that gets more reward. And so all the creators know the most shocking, the weirdest, the rudest, the most sexualized content, that's the ones that's going to work.
Yeah, it's just wild to think about the world we're in. Not only from the ultra-processed food, the ultra-processed information, stimulus we're getting from our phones, right? Everything that is affecting our gut, the microbiome, which, talking to you, has an implication on everything. Our mental health, our gut bacteria affecting our obesity, our weight, inflammation, my God, dopamine, neurotransmitters. It's like everything. And we don't even think about where we're at. But you empower us so much by telling us, hey, listen, 3 days, start implementing these foods, right?
Yeah.
We have that list now. I hope you all wrote it down.
Yeah.
We got that list, and then, we could just really make a major change for ourselves just with diet.
Yeah, like we think about the mind controls everything, and it does, right? But the mind and the gut are connected. So in our embryo, it's one, and then they separate, okay? So if you are able to control the mind and the gut, you have control over everything.
Yeah.
So our brain actually has the power to change our microbiome. So it goes both ways. Our microbiome can change the brain. Mostly our microbiome, it's mostly 80-20 or 90-10, right? But your brain also has a way of changing that microbiome. We don't know how, and we don't know if it's just coincidence, but the people who are generally describe themselves as, happy-go-lucky, self-described, have different microbiomes than those who are pessimists or like on the lower side. And it's like the thoughts also influence the gut. That's what we think. We don't know because we don't know the pathways yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But we know that there's a deep connection
between
right?
your thoughts, I mean, we know, right?
Yeah.
Your thoughts
Yeah.
create your environment inside.
Yeah. I love that. We're thinking, and listen, we have another hour and a half, but I know you got a flight. You got to go back to Arizona.
I know. It's too bad.
Wait, okay, first of all, what is the book's name? When do we get the book? Where do we find it?
Yes. Thank you. The book is called I'm So Effing Hungry.
That's me right
And-
now.
Exactly. And so if you carry the book, you might get offered a snack, which is a nice side effect. If you're
Yeah.
sitting on a plane, people
Yeah,
will be like,
yeah,
oh, she's hungry. And it's available everywhere books are sold. It's coming out February 28th.
Wow.
It's at amymdwellness.com/book. If you need, there's all bonuses there. There's a chapter there that's never been seen before. It was like cut from the book. You can have that and all the other bonuses over there.
We have the director's cut coming straight from you. You just go on the
Yes.
website and we have all the goodies.
There you go.
I love that. Everyone go get the book. I'm telling you, man. Hey, listen, when Amy comes with her info, we got to listen. Let me tell you something. You told me to work out on a fasted stomach.
Yes.
2 years ago
Yeah.
when we were on our podcast, and every time I work out, I go on a fasted stomach.
Amazing.
I still do it ever
Amazing.
since our show.
Some days when I'm really busy, I have work, I have calls, I'll just go for 20 minutes, like a quick walk around the block. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't need, like I tell people, I'm like, you don't need to be doing a full
Whole
workout.
thing, yeah. Just stimulating the body.
Right, like-
Movement, walk, just something, getting the blood
Just,
flowing.
yeah, just delaying a little bit that coffee and food and whatever. So
And then you come back. But go listen, everyone, to that first one too about fasting. This was a fantastic show. How do people find you?
amymdwellness.com. On Instagram, I'm fastingmd. Everywhere else, I'm Amy Shaw MD.
Amazing. Go check her out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you next year for part 3, okay?
Yes, I hope so.
I love that.